Jack Nicholson wore the devil's grin for decades, the rebel who turned Hollywood upside down with his intensity, his unpredictability, and his refusal to play by the rules. But when the cameras stopped rolling, he carried grudges darker than the roles that made him famous. At 88 years old, he finally broke his silence about the people who crossed the line from respect into pure hatred. Behind the curtain of his success and accolades, 6 names emerge. Some were idols, some were friends, and some were merely colleagues who shared a set. Each one, Nicholson says, violated his fundamental code of acting and artistic integrity. And now, we reveal the legends he despised, and the reasons why he would never forgive them. Jack Nicholson never expected his greatest disappointment would come from the man he worshipped most, Marlon Brando. Brando was supposed to be the hero, the genius who inspired an entire generation of actors, including Jack himself. He was a living legend, a revolutionary who transformed cinema forever. Young Nicholson had studied Brando's every move, analyzed his performances, and dreamed of one day sharing a screen with the master. But when they finally worked together on the Missouri Breaks in 1976, Nicholson's admiration transformed into something far darker: betrayal. Nicholson arrived on set disciplined and hungry, eager to spar with his hero and learn from the greatest actor alive. Brando, however, showed up overweight, detached, and completely uninterested in the project. He refused to learn his lines, instead plastering cue cards on lamps, furniture, and even on the foreheads of crew members. What should have been a masterclass in acting turned into absolute chaos. The set became a circus, and Nicholson realized the genius he had worshipped was now just a man coasting on past glory. Nicholson later fumed in private interviews, saying, "Genius doesn't excuse laziness. A lazy genius is just a fancy word for fraud." The betrayal didn't stop with forgotten lines and cue cards. Brando began adopting bizarre accents, slipping into Irish tones without warning or reason. He insisted on eccentric costumes, bonnets, dresses, outfits that made no sense for the character or the story. To Nicholson, this wasn't brilliance or artistic experimentation. It was deliberate sabotage. Every day felt like a game Brando played for his own amusement, while everyone else carried the weight of the film. The tension on set was suffocating and poisonous. Nicholson, who had hoped for meaningful collaboration with his hero, now found himself fighting desperately to salvage his own performance in the middle of Brando's carnival. The film flopped at the box office, and with it, their relationship completely disintegrated. Nicholson never forgave him and never worked with Brando again, even though he continued to revere Brando's early masterpieces. For Jack, the lesson was devastating. Sometimes the gods you worship are the very ones who shatter your faith the most. When Jack Nicholson went head-to-head with Tom Cruise in A Few Good Men in 1992, the result looked explosive and theatrical. Their legendary courtroom battle gave the world the unforgettable line, "You can't handle the truth," a moment that became instantly iconic in cinema history. For movie audiences worldwide, it was absolutely iconic. For Nicholson, however, it was utterly exhausting. Nicholson had built his entire career on taking risks and embracing danger. He thrived on moments when a scene could break apart at any second, forcing raw, unpredictable reactions from everyone involved. What he found opposite Tom Cruise was the exact opposite of everything he craved. Every smile seemed carefully rehearsed, every movement precisely calculated, every line delivered with meticulous control. The unpredictability and spontaneity he desperately craved simply wasn't there. He later sneered to friends, "You look in his eyes and you see the machinery working. It's perfect, and it's empty." That harsh judgment cut deep, because it revealed Nicholson's belief that Cruise approached acting as an exercise in image management rather than artistic truth. The performance looked flawless from the outside, technically perfect in every way, but for Nicholson, it lacked the danger and raw unpredictability that made acting worth doing. Even their most famous exchange, the intense shouting match in the courtroom, left him feeling cold inside. Nicholson admitted he hurled every ounce of fire and passion at Cruise during filming, desperately hoping to crack through the polished surface and find something real underneath. What he got back felt like lines drilled repeatedly in front of a mirror, polished until no spontaneity or genuine human emotion remained. He compared the experience to listening to a sterile studio recording when what he wanted was the sweat, chaos, and unpredictability of a live concert performance. Jack Nicholson hated nothing more than being told exactly how to act, and that's precisely what director Sean Penn did on the set of The Pledge in 2001. Nicholson wasn't collaborating with a visionary director. He was following orders he absolutely despised. Penn, obsessed with gritty realism and authenticity, wanted every pause, every glance, every tone delivered exactly his way. There was no room for improvisation or spontaneous creativity. Nicholson later complained bitterly, "What's the point of hiring Jack Nicholson if you want a puppet?" That single line exposed the fury boiling beneath the surface. For decades, Nicholson had built his craft on pure instinct and spontaneity, on the exhilarating thrill of discovery that happens in front of the camera. With Penn, there was no room for any of that creative freedom. Every scene felt locked in a cage, every acting choice suffocated under Penn's controlling direction. Nicholson compared it to running a marathon with your feet tied together, a vivid metaphor that made crystal clear just how tortured and painful the entire experience had become. Yes, the film ultimately earned critical praise, but Nicholson never forgave the process or the artistic suffocation he endured. He walked away feeling completely drained and robbed of the danger that made acting worth it for him. On The Departed in 2006, Jack Nicholson and Leonardo DiCaprio created some of the most explosive moments in Martin Scorsese's crime masterpiece. Nicholson's Frank Costello was pure chaos and unpredictability. DiCaprio's Billy Costigan was tightly wound tension. To audiences watching the film, their clash looked like pure magic, but behind the scenes, Nicholson dismissed his younger co-star as fundamentally too safe. Nicholson thrived on danger and the possibility that anything could happen once the camera rolled. DiCaprio, by stark contrast, prepared every detail of his performance obsessively. Backstory, gestures, even the smallest facial tics were meticulously planned. Jack complained, "He's done his homework thoroughly, but there's no danger. You can see every brick in the wall he's built." This fundamental difference came to a head during one famous moment. During a tense exchange, Nicholson shocked everyone by pulling out a real gun without any warning. Scorsese kept the cameras rolling, and the fear on DiCaprio's face was completely real. For Nicholson, that was true acting, forcing raw truth out of a moment. For Leo, it was reckless, and a dangerous breach of trust between collaborators. The generational conflict made the gap even wider. Nicholson had studied under acting legend Sanford Meisner, believing deeply in living truthfully in the moment. DiCaprio belonged to a new Hollywood shaped by precision, discipline, and careful preparation. Both methods worked brilliantly, but they were oil and water on set together. After filming ended, Nicholson told friends he wouldn't work with Leo again, saying simply, "The kid's great, but too safe for my blood." Jack Nicholson never forgot the people who broke his code. From idols who betrayed his trust to co-stars who drained the life out of a scene, each clash became a lesson written in fire. Hollywood was his kingdom, but loyalty was his law. And when that was broken, he never forgave or forgot. Every feud, every betrayal, every silent grudge shaped the legend who ruled the screen and walked away untouched by apology or regret. In the end, his silence spoke louder than any script ever could.